Good morning. Today is Friday. It is the 10th day of Adar, the first Adar. We continue today in chapter 29, where the Alter Rebbe discusses the problem of the dullness of the heart, that sometimes the Beinoni, any person can have a feeling of insensitivity. I'm not inspired. I'm just dull. I'm just almost like a stone. The heart becomes so insensitive to spirituality. And the Alter Rebbe is discussing, where is it coming from? Why is it? So the Alter Rebbe explains in today's shir that the reason why a person can experience such dullness, such a difficulty of being able to become inspired. So the Alter Rebbe, this is because of the gasus haklipa, the arrogance of the other side, of the animal soul. What does that mean? So the question is, who are we? Who do we identify with as ourselves? When you say I, who is the I? The answer is, it depends. We know the truth is that a true essence of a Jew is the godly soul. The godly soul, no matter what kind of a person, there is a nefesh, lekis, the godly soul, it's chelek elokam imal mamish, it's a part of Hashem in the person. So it doesn't matter what level the person is, the godly soul is there. The only question is whether the godly soul is revealed or not. Who does the person identify with as yourself? So if it is an ordinary person, a Beinoni, really what you identify with is the soul that you're familiar with. Then who is yourself? We're talking about myself. I am what I want, what I feel existing, what makes me feel existing, what my desires. It's all about the animal soul. The godly soul may be in theory the real reality, but in reality, what do I feel? What do I identify with? I identify with my feelings, with my emotions, with my desires. This is who I am. A tzaddik is different. A tzaddik identifies, he feels that the true self is the godly soul. And he realizes that the animal soul, he doesn't have an animal soul, the tzaddik. He completely eliminated the evil inclination. He doesn't have an evil inclination. He does have a body with a vital soul. The vital soul obviously needs to eat, needs to drink, needs to do whatever he needs. But the tzaddik senses and feels that this is something foreign to him. It's as if the body by him is like a guest. He needs to, his true life is living godly, but living godly, you need to have a physical body, so you need to eat and drink also. And this is where Alter Rebbe says, the problem of the dullness of the heart is when the feeling of self, when you feel the animal soul raises up its arrogance, feeling that its presence is there and it blocks the sense of the true life of a person, which is the godly soul. The animal soul blocks it and becomes arrogant. And it makes the person feeling as this is my existence. This is what I identify with is the animal soul. And therefore, you can be a situation when a person, he studies everything, he understands everything logically, it makes sense, he understands, he does the mitzvahs properly. Whatever needs to be done, he studies Torah, he prays, and everything what he needs to do, he does. But yet, he doesn't have the inspiration, doesn't feel inspired to get connected to something more real. It doesn't feel the real reality of the godly soul. And that is the cause of this arrogance. This is the cause of this dullness of the heart that you don't, when the animal soul becomes arrogant. What do you do then? What is the advice? So the Alter Rebbe, what we learned yesterday, Alter Rebbe says, he uses the metaphor of the Zohar. When you have a piece of wood, a large log, and you need to light it up on fire, and it doesn't catch fire. So what do? So sometimes you say you have to bring a bigger fire. That's one way of dealing with it. But the real solution would be if you take the log, that big log, and you chop it down to splinters, and then the fire will catch. The same thing is in the metaphor. It says the fire is the fire of the godliness, of spirituality. The wood is the log is the animal soul. The animal soul is so thick sometimes, it's so big, it thinks it's of itself, and so the presence is so obvious and so arrogant, and you feel that you are the true existence. Then you need to chop it down. And you need to humble yourself. And we're not talking about causing yourself harm or anything, or doing things physically. No, we're talking about mentally and understanding how, thinking about what is the animal soul true size. You bring it down to its own size. It is there only because Hashem put them, because it's a physical world and the godliness is concealed. So it has to be an animal soul also. And we can use it out, obviously, to serve Hashem with the animal soul. But we have to realize and think about taking time to humble yourself, or realize that all of this existence of the animal soul is really nothing compared to the real, true reality of godly soul. And therefore, this gets the person to a broken heart that breaks down the spirit of the animal soul. When this is broken down, it opens up to appreciating and sensing the true reality, sensing something spiritual. So let's see inside the way the Alter Rebbe explains this. So the Alter Rebbe ve'asiba igasus ha'klipa shemagbiya atzmo al oyer kedushas nefesh alikis. The cause of this deficiency is the arrogance of the klipa, of the animal soul, which exalts itself above the holiness of the light of the divine soul. Umasteres umachashicha oiro. And it obscures and darkens the light of the godly soul. That is the cause. And what do we do for this? Therefore, one must crush it and cast it down to the ground. Just as in the previous quote, and the quoted analogy, we said the beam is splintered so that it will catch fire. Okay. Now the Rebbe now proceeds to explain how is this accomplished. And he points out that the personality of the Beinani is his animal soul. When the Beinani says I, he is referring to his animal soul. So therefore, by crushing his own spirit, he crushes the Sitra Achra, enabling and thereby enables the light of the soul and intellect to penetrate himself. Says the Alter Rebbe, this means that one must crush the Sitra Achra, on the other evil side, and cast it to the ground. by setting aside appointed times for humbling oneself and considering himself despicable and contemptible. As it is written, Kakasu v'leiv nishbar, ruach nishbara, yasitra acha shehi adam atzme bepin. A broken heart leads to a broken spirit, the spirit being the sitra achra, the other side, the evil side, which in the case of the Beinanim is the very man himself. Because in his heart, the vital soul, which animates the body, is in its full strength as it was at birth. And therefore, it is indeed the very man himself. So when the Beinani says I, he's referring to the animal soul, to the vital soul. And of course, he has a nefesh elikis as well. But the way he refers to the nefesh elikis is the soul, the godly soul. He refers to the soul that God gave into me. So who is the me? The me is the vital soul, the body with the vital soul. That's what he identifies with. That says the Alter Rebbe, Val nefesh elikis sheboi nemar neshama shenosata bi tehoirohi. With regard to the divine soul within him, it is said that the soul which you gave within me is pure. This is something we say every single morning. It says the Alter Rebbe, shenosata bi daika. The words that you gave within me imply michlal she'odam atzmai einenu aneshama teira. This implies that the man himself, who is saying these words, is not identified with the pure soul, meaning the divine soul is a thing apart, which has been placed within this me, the body and the animal soul. The exception is in the case of tzaddikim, the case of the holy, righteous people, that they completely eliminated the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Shebahem ulehefech. Within them, the contrary is true. Shenashama tahira shei nefesh elikis hu adam. The man himself is the pure soul. V'gufam nikra b'sar adam. Meaning the divine soul is the man himself, while their body is called the flesh of man. What does it mean that it's secondary to the man himself, the divine soul? As the Alter Rebbe is going to continue in tomorrow's lesson, on Shabbos lesson, it says, brings the example of Hillel HaZaken, sage, the great sage Hillel. And he said whenever he went to eat, he always said that he's going to perform a mitzvah of tzedakah, kindness, to be kind to a guest. Who is the guest? His body. He needed to eat, he has a body. He needs to do a favor. He needs to do kindness. The body needs food, so he goes to eat. What was his life? The life was the godly soul. And that is the true reality. Except that we live in a physical world that conceals the true reality. And that's why says the Alter Rebbe that from time to time you have to think about when you feel the desires that a person has. What are you excited about? And you realize that this is such foolish things compared to the real reality of godliness. And that is the breaking down the spirit, talking down to yourself. And again, we're not talking about making yourself feel bad, making your animal soul feel bad. And on the contrary, when you feel the true reality, this leads to real simcha, to real joy. And the Rebbe once said, talking about this month, we have the month of Chodesh Adar, to be happy, to be joyous. And the Rebbe explained that there is joy that comes along with a mitzvah. You do a mitzvah, and you're excited, you're happy. Why are you happy? Because this is doing a mitzvah, it connects you with Hashem and brings you a tremendous joy, tremendous happiness. But then there is also the joy that you do, that you have, simcha b'taharasa, he calls it. The pure joy, joy in its purity, meaning joy with who you are, even before you do a mitzvah. When you realize who are you, who is the true you, not the one, the you that you identify with. When you realize, you think about who is the true you, is when you are nullified to Hashem. You realize that the true existence of you is your neshama, your soul. Your soul is pure. And although you don't sense it, but you know that this is the true reality. So the more you identify with that, the more you realize that this is the truth, it is nullification to above. It is completely eliminates your self-feeling because it's about being part of Hashem. So that is the simcha b'ta'avasa. The more you identify with the true you, which leads to self-nullification, not to self-gratification, not to look for gratify your desires, and the contrary. That itself brings you to joy. Knowing that you're a Jew, as the story goes with Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev. They once, from early in the morning, he was dancing, rejoicing. Asked him, what's going on? What happened? And they told him, I don't know, I just said today, this morning, Baruch Atah Hashem, Shalom Asani Goy, you realize that I'm a Jew. That itself caused him so much joy, he started dancing early in the morning. So this is the simcha b'ta'avasa, the joy in its purity. That is the end of today's shir. Join us in Mirz Hashem on Sunday. Oh, we're still here in Melbourne, so it's going to be pre-recorded at different times. I'm wishing you all a very good Shabbos. All the best.